of late, in the past few days, we have seen a lot of improvements in the system sa ating ginawa para sa COVID-19 panlaban. I am
number one na.
The Octambacol and something fishy.
So now,
but let me begin with the Secretary of Health, Secretary Duque.
Maraming salamat po. Magandang hapon, Mr. President, Senator Bongo, Chair of the Committee on Health and Demography, to my fellow members of the Cabinet and the Interagency Task Force, at sa ating po mga mahal na kababayan, magandang gabi po sa ating lahat. Ako,
Hi, Harlan.
thinking of
Why?
2021, meron po tayo na dagdag na 6,846 na mga bagong kaso. Sa 6,846 na naidagdag, 1,761 ay mula sa NCR, 1,359 sa Region 4A, 852 sa Region 3, at 2,874 sa mga natitirang rehiyon. Para naman po sa ating mga aktibong kaso, can you bring the slide back? This is not the slide that I am talking about. Yeah, dyan lang. Let's freeze it there. Para naman po sa ating mga aktibong kaso, ang kabuuan bilang ngayon, ika-10 ng Mayo, ay nasa 59,897. Ang katumbas po nito ay 5.4% ng ating total active cases. At sa kabilang dako, ang ating po recoveries ay umabot na sa 1 million. Nasa 92.92%, habang ang bilang ng mga pumanaw ay nasa 18,562, at napapanatili po naman natin, although masakit po sa atin na may mga pumapanaw, ay mababa po ang ating case fatality rate sa 1.67%. Next slide. Nito po ang nakaraang linggo, bumaba na ang atin sa ating bansa sa low risk, kung saan negative 22% ang atin, 85 ang ating pong average daily attack rate per 100,000 population. Nasa moderate risk naman ang ating pong NCR, kung saan bumaba po to negative 39% ang ating pong 2-week growth rate, at ang ating pong average daily attack rate per 100,000 population ay bumaba din po sa 19.02 from a high of 30.98. Bagamat gumaganda na ang ating lagay, hindi po tayo maaaring magiging mapagluwag, lalo na't meron tayong 10 rehiyon. Ito po yung regions 4B, 5, 6, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, Barm, and Caraga, na may positibo ng 2-week growth rate. Ang ibig po sabihin nito ay bumibilis ang pagkalat ng COVID-19 infection sa mga naturang lugar. At meron po tayong 5 rehiyon naman na may mataas na average daily attack rate. Ito po NCR, CAR, 2, 4A, and 3. Although sa NCR, bibigyan din ko po, ay malaki na din po ang ibinaba ng ating ADAR. Next slide, ito po nagpapakita ang epidemic curve ng COVID. Amin din po napansin na bumababa ang nadagdag na kaso galing sa NCR. Mula sa 48%, ngayon po ay asa 31% na lamang ng kabuuan bilang ng kaso na galing sa NCR. Ito po represented by the blue bar. Makikita po yung malinaw na pagbaba ng mga kaso. Kasabay po nito, ang amin napansin naman ang pagtaas ng mga naitatalang kaso sa ibang region at ang represented po ito by the black graph. But all in all, makikita po natin na bumababa na po ang ating mga kaso. Next slide. Patuloy na bumubuti ang lagay ng ating healthcare utilization rate nationwide mula po sa 4.7 percentage points na iniulat namin noong nakaraang linggo ay meron po tayo ngayon 7 percentage points na bumaba. Ibinaba ng ating healthcare utilization rate mula sa peak na naiulat noong April 13 to 15 na asa 54%. So, kung pipira-pirasuhin po natin ito, a more itemized presentation or illustration of this, tingnan po natin yung isolation beds. Nung nag-peak po tayo, 51% po ang gamit ng ating mga isolation beds. Ngayon, asa 43%, so bumaba po sa makatuwid ng 8%. At ang ating COVID-19 ward beds, from a peak of 57% utilization rate, bumaba po ito to 49%. So, ganun din po, bumaba ng 8%. Ang tingnan po natin, ang mahalaga rito yung ICU beds. No? From a 68% peak utilization rate, bumaba po tayo ng 61%. So, meron po tayong improvement ng 7% points. At ang mechanical ventilators naman po natin, from 48%, bumaba po to 40%. No? So, next slide please. Gayun din, bumaba ang ating healthcare utilization ng NCR mula sa 12% na ibinaba last week. Bumaba na sa 17% ang ating HCUR ng nasabing region kumpara sa peak day estimate. At sa kabila nito, nananatiling nasa critical at kumpara sa peak day estimate. At sa kabila nito, nananatiling nasa critical at high risk ang ICU utilization healthcare capacities, lalo na po ang ICU capacities upang manatili tayong handa sa mga surge na maaaring mangyari muli. So, yan po makikita natin ang improved utilization rate natin. Ito po ay malaki po ang ibinagsak, lalo na yung ICU beds, no? From an 88% critical risk classification down to 67%, which is now at moderate risk classification down. Dahil ito po ang nagsasalba ng mga buhay. Sa lahat po ng mga bumubuo ng ating healthcare systems capacity, ICU po talaga ang pinakamahalaga sa lahat. Next slide. Para naman po sa ating death curve, ay makikita na po natin, bumababa na ang ating po naitala nitong nakaraang linggo na halos kapantay ng naitala natin noong Agosto 2020 at 77 deaths per day. Gayun pa man, kinakailangan itong we have to interpret this with caution dahil meron po tayong hindi na italang mga namatay na sa ngayon sumasailalim pa sa validation. Next slide please. Ito naman po, although si Secretary Galvez ang magbibigay po ng updates, meron lang po akong mga highlights. Ito pong nakaraan, ikapito ng Mayo, nakiisa tayo sa ating pag-obserba ng Healthcare Workers Day. Bukod sa mga mensahe ng suporta, patuloy din natin tinutulungan at tinutugunan ang mga concern ng ating nakalap sa ating pakikipagpulong sa mga health worker associations upang malaman at agad na matugunan ang kanila pong mga pangangailangan at mga hinaing. Hindi po lingid sa atin ang kalakhan ng serbisyo at patuloy na sakripisyo, kaya naman patuloy natin silang sinusuportahan. Sa usapin ng ating pambansang pagbabakuna, nakatanggap tayo ng 1.5 million Sinovac doses. 2 million AstraZeneca doses mula sa COVAX facility at 15,000 doses mula naman po sa Gamaleya. Sa pagdating ng mga karagdagan doses na ito, umabot na tayo sa 7.5 million doses ang kabuuan bilang ng mga bakuna na dumating po sa atin inang bayan. Tungo sa agad na pagbigay ng mga bakunang ito sa ating mga mamamayan, patuloy tayo po kumikilos upang mapalawig ang ating vaccination capacity. Kasama nito ang operasyon ng Galleon Giga Vaccination Center sa loob ng SM Mall of Asia Complex, kung saan nakapagbakuna tayo ng 500 senior citizens sa araw ng pagbubukas nito. Kasabay din po ang pagdating ng mga bakuna sa bansa, hikayatin natin ang ating mga mahal sa buhay, mga kaibigan, mga kapitbahay, mga ating komunidad na magpalista at magpabakuna. Mas tiyak ang ating pong kaligtasan kung lahat tayo ay mababakunahan. Kinakailangan ng ating pong sama-samang pagkilos upang ipakita at ipaalam sa madla na ang mga bakuna ay ligtas at epektibo laban po sa COVID-19. Ang aking pong huling slide sa kabuuan po, Mr. President, ito po ang ating mga pangunahing mensahe at paalala. Habang bumubuti ang ating lagay, kinakailangan pa din po natin ang mahigpit na pagpapatupad ng lahat po ng ating mga protocols upang hindi tayo bumalik sa surge. Una, mayroon pa tayong 5 rehiyon na kinakailangan tutukan dahil sa kanila pong average daily attack rate na nasa high risk pa rin po, pati 10 rehiyon na tumataas ang 2-week growth rate. Muli ulitin natin, ang 2-week growth rate ay isang panukatan na nagpapakita kung bumabagal ba o tumutulin ang hawaan sa mga komunidad ng COVID-19. Ikalawa po, hinihikayat namin ang mga healthcare providers na panatilihin ang kasalukuyang healthcare capacity. At paghuli na lang po sa pagtaas ng mobility ng amin pong naobserbahan mula unang linggo ng Mayo, kinakailangan natin pagpatuloy ang mahigpit na pagpapatupad ng ating mga health protocols upang hindi na tayo bumalik sa surge na atin pong naranasan. So ito na po ang pinakahuling slide. Maraming salamat po at handa po akong sumagot sa mga katanungan. Salamat po, Mr. President.
Thank you, Secretary Duque. I'd like to direct our attention to Secretary Galvez.
Mr. President, fellow cabinet members, Senator Bongo, fellow... Sa ngayon po, ang ating pong i-brief. Sa ngayon po, ang i-brief po natin na salamat sa Diyos po, sir, at ang ating mga vaccine po ay patuloy na dumadating. At tayo po ay natutuwa dahil kasi ang pagdating po ng vaccine natin hindi na po in trickles but in volumes na po. So sa ngayon pong gabi, aming pong ibibigay ng pahayag yung mga vaccine na darating pa po ngayong May at saka sa ngayong June. At ang ongoing po natin na vaccination program nationwide.
Will somebody fix the sound system of...
Mic test. Next slide, please. Sa ngayon po, padating na po yung ating mga vaccines at ngayon po ay meron na po tayong 7,571,000 na doses that have arrived since February. So ang latest nga po yung dumating ng May 7 at saka May 8 na meron tayong 1.5 million na Sinovac at meron po tayong 2,030,400 doses ng AstraZeneca. So masaya na po tayo dahil kasi meron na po tayong pang second dose sa AstraZeneca. Next slide please. Ito pa po yung mga darating na mga doses. Ngayon pong araw, darating po ang Pfizer. Mamaya po mga 9:30 ng gabi, darating po ang 193,000 na Pfizer. And then, bago mag-end po ang May, meron po pong 1,100,000 na Pfizer na darating. At meron pang Sinovac 500,000 at ongoing pa yung ating negotiation para sa 2 million na Sputnik. Kung darating po, umiawa po ang Diyos at darating po lahat ito, magkakaroon na po tayo ng inventory ng 11,364,000 na vaccine. And then sa June, meron pong darating din po na another 1,100,000. And then nag-order na po tayo sa Sinovac ng 4,500,000 doses. And Moderna, meron pong darating na 250,000. AstraZeneca po, ito po yung in-order ng ating mga private sector. Meron na rin pong 1.3 million na darating. And then Sputnik, 2 million po. So bago po matapos po ang buwan ng June, in-expect po natin na meron na po tayo sa ating inventory na 20,514,000 doses. Ito po kaya na po, lahat po ito yung A1, A2, A3, makakaya na po na makuha. Next slide please. So kung makita po natin sa ating vaccination, meron po tayo na total na na-deploy na 4,09,800 doon po sa mga vaccination site. Meron na po tayo na 3,410 na vaccination site. At sa first dose po natin, na meron na po tayo na 1,957,965 na napakunahan. At meron na rin po na 451,270 na second dose. For a total of 2,409,235. Sa ating mga healthcare workers, meron na po tayo napakunahan na 1,181,834. Sa A2 po, meron na po tayong 436 at sa A3, meron po tayong 331,150. At saka yung mga frontliner po natin na nabigyan natin during May 1 na Labor Day, meron po tayong 8,881. Next slide please. Kung titingnan po natin, noon dati po, nasa pangatlo po tayo. Ngayon po, mahal na President, na number 2 na po tayo. Dahil umangat po ang ating daily average. Noon dati po, ang daily average po natin is only 34,418. Sa ngayon po, yung 7 average po natin, ang last 7 average from May 1 to May 8, tumaas na po tayo, nadoblado po tayo ng 65,879. So nakakatuwa po dahil kasi talagang na tumataas na po tayo. And then number 41st na po tayo out of 94 countries and rank 15 out of 47 countries in Asia. Next slide please. Siyempre, ito po ang gagawin po natin. Nagkaroon po tayo ng mga series of conferences with our strategies. Ang maganda po talaga, magkaroon po tayo ng strategy ng tinatawag nating focus and expand through center of gravity. Yung center of gravity po ito po yung tinatawag natin na economic centers. At the same time, ito po yung mga vulnerable areas. So pagka na-address po natin, na-strengthen natin ang ating vulnerabilities, at the same time, we strengthen our economic strength. Yun po ang center of gravity po natin. So sa ngayon po, ang nakita po natin, yung focus area po natin, yung NCR plus yung 6 provinces, kasama po Bulacan, Cavite, Pampanga, Laguna, Batangas, at saka po yung Rizal, kasama po ang Metro Cebu at saka Metro Davao. Ito po ang bibigyan po natin ng tinatawag natin steady supply. For example, kung ang Manila nangangailangan ng 3.3 million kada buwan, talagang eksakto po na meron po siya talaga na supply na steady na 3.3 million. Kung ang Davao kailangan niya ng 250,000 a month, bibigay po natin po yon parang stockpile niya para at least hindi po magkaroon ng shortage at maging maganda yung kanyang rollout at wala pong delay. And then yung mga expansion area natin, ito yung mga tinatawag natin yung mga important contiguous area ng NCR. At the same time, ito rin po yung mga economic center. So Region 3, Region 4, Cagayan de Oro, Baguio City, Zamboanga City, Bacolod, Iloilo, Jensan, Iligan, and also yung mga Region 10 hanggang Paranaque. So kung titignan po natin yung mga center of gravities po natin, instead na itatarget natin yung 110 million, itatarget lang natin yung tinatawag nating 83,829,719. Ang kanyang 70% is 58,680,803. Ito po, ginagawa po natin ito dahil kasi nakita po natin, ang pinaka-main variable po natin, Mr. President, is yung ating global supply. Kung maganda ang ating global supply, wala tayong problema. Ang inyo pong sinasabi na kailangan po natin na bakunahan po natin ang ating lahat ng ating mga mamamayan, babakunahan po natin. Until such time na hanggang children pwede po natin bakunahan. Next slide please. So ito po yung target po natin. sinasabi po natin na we should have a better Christmas this year. So ginagawa po natin yung strategy natin na pagka nakuha na po natin, Mr. President, ang 25 million, ito na po yung pinaka-vulnerable. According to WHO, yung tatawag natin na burden of disease at saka burden of death at saka burden of hospitalization. Ito po yung ating healthcare workers, senior citizens, at saka po yung people with comorbidities. Kung nakuha po natin yon, makukontain po natin ang ating tatawag na death and also yung mga fatalities. So meron tayong tinatawag na low and high target, wherein pagka once na nakuha natin 25 million, at least meron tayong tinatawag na initial herd containment. And then yung herd immunity from 58 million to 70 million. Ito yung tinatawag natin prevent and contain. And then once na we have already had the science that we can give the vaccine even to the children, we will target the 110 million population. Next slide, please. Sir, kagabi nga po, sir, yung lahat ng mga expert ng supply chain ng private sector, kausap po namin, ito po yung mga magagaling na supply chain na McDonald's, ng Jollibee, at saka po ng mga tatawag natin na mga health providers. Malaki po ang ating malaki po ang ating challenge dahil yung ating mga tinatawag na national supply chain management, may dalawa po tayo. Meron po tayong yung PharmaServe and also yung Swillig. And then bababa po yan sa regional warehouse, and then sa LGU warehouse, and then sa vaccination site. May mga ginagawa po kami, sinisimplify po namin na from the pharma, pwede po kaagad doon sa vaccination site. Kasi po nakita po natin na yung ibang mga vaccine ay napaka-critical po na magkaroon pa ng mga tinatawag nating double handling. At pagka lumabas po yan sa warehouse, kailangan maitulok na po natin. So pinag-aralan po namin po yun, tinitingnan po namin yung mga delays, paano natin mapapast track yung vaccination, paano natin ma-eliminate yung tinatawag na mga challenges for possible wastage. Pinag-aralan po ng mabuti ng mga supply chain managers. And natutuwa po kami dahil kasi ang private sector po talagang gusto nila tumulong sa atin. And then also they can provide more than 23 million vaccine output through their private hospitals at saka yung natawag na healthcare provider. So meaning, yung binili po nila na more or less 23 million, sila rin po ang magpapakuna with the guidance and supervision of the LGU and the DOH regional directors. Next slide, please. Kung titingnan po natin, ito hindi masyadong nakikita po siya, pero at least nakita po natin yung ginagawa natin na talagang yung supply and demand vaccine rollout planning. So ito po, napaka-critical po ito kasi talagang yung at the level of the national, talagang yung planning dapat synchronize until to the site preparation. At meron tayong tinatawag na pull and push the variables na kailangan po makita natin po sa mga assumptions. So ang pinaka-main objective natin talaga, sir, is ma-optimize natin ang time at saka ma-minimize natin yung wastage. Meaning, the main purpose of this supply and demand vaccine rollout is that to finish the vaccination at the earliest possible time and maximize the resources that we have without any wastage. Next slide, please. Sir, with the output na ng ating mga deliveries, we are very confident na by June or July, we can have a target output na at least meron tayong 25 million na vaccine. And with that, pagka once na nakuha natin po yan, magiging liberal na po yung ating vaccination. Meaning, we can already have the vaccination of the general public. Meaning, immaterial na po yung tatawag natin na mga priorities. Dahil meron na po tayong mga eksaktong mga bakuna. Sa ngayon po, sa ating inventory, meron po tayong more or less 5 million naka-slack na nakita natin naka-dedicate yung 2 million for the second dose, while we have still a slack of more or less 3 million. Meaning, Mr. President, sa ngayon na may 7 million po tayo, meron na po tayong slack na 3 million na supply. Meaning, yun po, pwede pong gamitin ng LGU at mapaspasan po ang ating pagbabaksin-vaccinate. Pagka dumating pa po yung mga ibang mga natin, yung ating mga tinatawag na mga vaccine, yun po ang nagiging mga challenges natin, how the ground operations we'll do it well, na parang inventory natin bumaba. Kasi mas maganda po, mas mabilis, mas makukunti ang inventory natin, ibig sabihin, paspas po yung ating vaccination. And pagka maganda po ang vaccination natin, and it is being done efficiently, baka po yung herd immunity ay makukuha natin ng mas maaga. And then ano po, maganda rin po ang nano po natin na nung last na nagpunta po kami dun sa pag-ano po ng AstraZeneca, nakita po namin po doon, napakaganda po ng talaga ng intensyon ng Gavi, COVAX, at saka po yung coalition. Nakikita po natin, Mr. President, na we really have to support yung COVAX facility. And we are very happy that we have supported it through our DFA, and we also ordered an additional 10 million for the COVAX. We have seen that if all countries will join together for this pandemic, we can win this fight. At nakita po natin na if all the Filipinos will work together also, together with the private sector, with the LGU and the national government, we can win this fight definitely, sir. So yun lang po, mahal na President, at ang sinasabi nga po natin na talagang yung equitable access at saka po yung tatawag nating walang iwanan at walang maiiwan, dapat po yun po din talagang gagawin po natin.
I'd like to call Dr. Domingo. What are the latest applicants for a permit to operate or to distribute or sell dyan sa opisina mo ngayon? Tinatanong ko kasi ito because then we would know how many we can make a projection of how many vaccines will be coming in to the country if we have the numbers doon sa mga kumpanya na nakarehistro sa iyo. Kindly give us just a rough figure so that we can at least tell the public that we expect this more than this number for this month. Go ahead.
Good afternoon po, Mr. President. I will give you an update on the emergency use authorizations po that we have granted at the FDA and then vaccine that we hope might be also applying with us. Can we have the slides, please? This time po, there are 111 vaccine candidates all over the world. These are the ones that are ongoing clinical trials on humans already, meaning phase 1, 2, and 3. And of all these 111 candidates, there are already 14 that are being used in different countries worldwide. In at least one country po. Yung iba dyan, yung mga 5 or 6 are really very new and are only being used right now in China and Russia, mostly. But a lot of them are being used in several countries. Next slide, please. Next slide, please. In the Philippines po, we have the second most number of authorized vaccines for use in our country. In the Philippines, since last week po, we already have 7 vaccines that we have given emergency use authorization. Yung mga ibang country po, usually a little less, but hopefully tayo po meron pa tayong tina-target po na 2, no? Sila Sec Charlie na possible vaccines to come into the country, aside from the 7 that are already authorized. Next slide, please. So yung pong pag-approve po natin ng emergency use authorization is based on your executive order number 121 which you signed on December 1 of 2020. Next slide, please. At yun po yung sinusunod natin ng mga conditions, Mr. President. No, number 1, the vaccine should have good efficacy. No? The evidence should show that it is reasonable to believe that the vaccine may be able to prevent COVID-19. And then second, it has to be a safe vaccine, meaning the known and potential benefits outweigh the risk. Dapat po walang mabigat na risk, hindi tayo nakakakita ng malaki pong potential risk ng mga vaccine which are still under development. And then third, there is no adequate approved available vaccine yet. So ibig sabihin po wala pa pong registered vaccine na fully marketable. Next slide, please. Ang application po ng emergency use authorization hindi lang po sa Pilipinas kundi sa buong mundo, can be submitted by the industry, meaning the company that developed the vaccine or the importer or the local distributor, but the government can also apply for an EUA. Particularly po the national agency compared with with the authority to procure or to implement the public health vaccination program. So pwede po for example ang NTF or ang DOH na mag-apply for an EUA ng isang pong bakuna. Next slide please. So ito po sir yung mga approved na natin karamihan po approved sa other countries and WHO. Yung Pfizer po, ito po ang approved sa 82 countries and WHO. AstraZeneca, which is approved in 91 countries and WHO. Yung Gamaleya, approved po yan in 62 countries, pero sa WHO, nagsa-start pa lang po yung kanilang application for emergency use listing. Sinovac is approved in 22 countries and is also in the late stages of WHO emergency use listing. Ang tingin po natin baka in 1 to 2 weeks magkaroon na rin po ng EUL itong Sinovac kasi ang pagkakaalam po natin na inspect na rin po sila. No? Next slide please. Yun pong Bharat Biotech, ito po yung isang Indian vaccine na hinihintay pa po natin yung Good Manufacturing Practice Certificate niyan bago makapag-import sa Pilipinas. Yun pong Janssen at saka Moderna, these are also approved in several countries like in US and then European countries, Canada, and also WHO. And these are also now approved dito po sa atin. Yung Janssen po yung single-dose vaccine. Yung Sinopharm, ito po yung although hindi pa official yung application sa atin, the good news is it was granted an emergency use listing by the WHO on May 7. So, kapag po ang DOH mag-apply po ng EUA for this, if we plan to procure government to government, the DOH can apply for an EUL for Sinopharm, and that will not take very long kasi nga po pag ganyan na meron na pong EUL ng WHO, we will be able to ask the WHO for the pertinent clinical trial data and the information, and I already asked for it actually this morning. Hopefully they will give it to us by siguro po tomorrow morning then, so we can ask our vaccine experts to take a look at it para pag nag-apply po ang DOH ay hindi na po tayo matatagalan. Yung uli pong vaccine na iniisip natin yung Novavax, yun po, baka po in a month or two mag-apply na rin po yan. No? Next slide please. So doon po sa pag-aaral ng WHO, yung tinatawag pong SAGE or the Strategic Advisory Group of Experts ng WHO completed the review of the vaccine ng Sinopharm. In fact, they also did inspections of the factory to make sure that it follows good manufacturing practice. And they took a look at the published and the unpublished data, which we hope to be able to see very soon also. And on the basis of that, the WHO recommended the vaccine for adults 18 years and older. Ito po ay 2-dose schedule din po. Binibigay ang first dose and then after 4 weeks, they give the second dose. Although very similar po to Sinovac, ang Sinopharm has limited data on people 60 years and above. However, the WHO decided not to put a cap on the age. So basta 18 and above, in-approve po ito ng WHO, believing na meron namang kaunting data showing it's useful in older people, and that physiologically speaking, older people should also mount a similar kind of immune reaction. And of course, if you use it in the country, the WHO just suggests that we follow up the people who are vaccinated to look at the efficacy data in the real world. And it was found to have an efficacy in preventing symptomatic and hospitalized disease at an estimated 79% among all age groups. So ito po yung ni-request natin sa WHO to give us the scientific data on this so we can give it to our vaccine expert panel so they can do a quick review. Next slide please. So yun lang po, Mr. President. No? So we have 7 approved vaccines here. Most of them in the basket of Secretary Charlie and the vaccine SAR. And yun pong pangwalo na hope i-apply daw po ng DOH ay yung Sinopharm. and then we will be awaiting for the next few months po sa Novavax.
Okay, that's a good report. Salamat, Dr. Domingo. Now, let us, I think we are through with, tapos na tayo dito sa anong mga arsenal natin sa COVID. But let us hear the Department of Interior and Local Government in the matter of enforcing policies that would help meet the challenge of COVID, especially yung protocol sa paghawaan, and of course, some allied activities that are that good. So I gave the orders, but the implementing rules I would think would be given by Secretary Anyo now. Secretary Anyo, the table is yours.
Senator Bongo and fellow public servants. Magandang gabi po sa ating lahat. Nauna po magbibigay po ako ng update sa ating Ayuda 2021. Sa ipinamahagi po na pondong 22.9 billion, nakapag-distribute na po tayo ng 18.822 billion para po sa 18,822,713 beneficiaries, or a total po na 82.14% accomplishment. Ito po ang breakdown sa bawat LGU. Next slide please. Dito po sa National Capital Region ay 9,235,469 beneficiaries na po ang nakatanggap. A total of 18.8 billion pesos ang naipamahagi sa 82.66% accomplishment. Sa Bulacan naman po ay meron ng 2,183,985 beneficiaries na nakatanggap. Ito po ay total na 2.4 billion na pamahagi sa 83.72% accomplishment. Sa probinsya naman po ng Cavite, meron na pong nakatanggap na 2,559,602 beneficiaries, or a total of 2.55 billion pesos na naipamigay sa 74.31% accomplishment. Sa probinsya po ng Laguna, nasa 94.17%, 2,559,498 beneficiaries po ang nakatanggap. At sa probinsya ng Rizal ay 1,984,159 individuals ang nakatanggap ng ayuda sa kabuang 75.94% accomplishment. Sa kabuuan po, nakatanggap tayo ng competence about 112,659. Ito po ay sari-sari, mga tao na qualified pero wala sa listahan. Ang iba po ay nag-aangkay ng kanilang ayuda. Ang 62,137 po ang na-resolve na, at ongoing naman po ang pag-atapag sa 49,283. Meron pa naman po tayo ng mga araw para may pamigay ang natitirang ayuda sa ating mga kababayan. Next slide please. Dito naman po sa inyo pinaputos noong nakarang linggo na kung saan ay din po ang pagpapatupad ng community health protocols mula po May 6 hanggang May 10, sapagkat May 5 po ninyo ibinigay yung order na magsagawa ng pag-aresto sa mga tao na hindi nagsusuot ng mask. So makikita po natin sa panahon po na dumaan, meron pong 18,862 violators. 904 po ang ating inaresto, pero yung 9,379 po binigyan natin ng warning. Pinagmulta po ang 8,027 at nag-community service po ang 491. Ang 61 po naman ay na-inquest na. Patuloy po natin patutupad ang aming pag-uutos na mag-aresto po at hindi po sumunod sa pagsusuot ng face mask. Sa mass gathering naman po, pinatutupad po natin din ang itong pinag-uutos sa pamamagitan ng Memo Circular 2021-050 na nilabas po ng DIOT. Mayroon po tayong 280 violators at kahapon po at kanina, ang pinaka-controversial na issue po ay ang gubad sa syudad resort incident na kung saan po ay more or less 300 ay pumunta sa resort na dapat ay sarado at nagkaroon po ng mass gathering. So ang ating pong PNP at ang LGU ng Caloocan City ay nagsasagawa po ng pag-file ng mga kaso sa mga violators kasama po yung owner ng syudad, ng gubad sa syudad resort at ang pag-summon at pag-aresto po sa barangay captain ng barangay 171 Caloocan City sapagkat hindi niya naipatupad ang community health protocol, lalong-lalo na ang mass gathering na supposedly bilang isang barangay official, alam po niya dapat ang nangyayari sa kanyang nasasakupan. Sa physical distancing naman po, meron tayong 5,470 violators at ito po ay binigyan po natin ng warning, ay iba po ay binigyan ng pagmumulta, community service po ang 205 at na-inquest na po ang 186. Tuloy-tuloy po namin patutupad ang inyong instruction sapagkat ito po yung pinagbumula ng sinasabi nating outbreak kapag po sumaway sa public health standard protocol, lalong-lalo na kapag hindi nagsusuot ng face mask. Nag-usap na po ako ng DOJ Undersecretary Maynard Guevara at gumagawa po ng guidelines para pagtipayin lalo kung paano ipatutupad ang pagtutupad ng sa mass gathering kasama na po ang hindi pagsusuot ng face mask. Susunod na slide please. Dito naman po sa ating kampanya laban po sa illegal drugs. Mula po sa panahon ng 01 up to 09 May o 10 araw po ang nakaraan ay nagkaroon po ng operation ang International Police at iba pang mga ahensya kasama ang PIDEA ng 1,121 operations. Nakapag-aresto po tayo ng 1,543 drug addicts, drug users, and drug peddlers. 11 po ang namatay during the operations at meron pong 38 na nag-surrender. Sa kabuuan, 29.98 kilos shabu ang tinasamsam, 516.9 kilos sa marijuana. Meron pong street value na tinatayang 265,904,094 pesos po ang ating nakumpisa. So yan naman po muna ang aking may report, Mr. President. Salamat po.
Thank you, Secretary Anyo. Let me explain the finer points of law involved in this process of arresting people who are violating the protocol. Alam ho ninyo, ang persons of authority is the president, the barangay captains, and the mayors. Hindi nga ang governor eh. Totoo lang. It's only, I think the president force, tapos ang barangay officials, the municipal officials, the mayor, the barangay captain, and the teachers, lahat sila. All are persons in authority. Kaya ho binigay ang supervision sa police because ang police dyan sa munisipyo is the person in authority. Ang mga police are agents of a person in authority. Lahat. Maski si PNP chief is only an agent of a person in authority. He is not a person in authority. So, ganun ho ang takbo. Kaya ang barangay captain, you are called upon and will be held liable for the failure of implementing the law in your territory. Yan ho kasi magsabi, bakit bigay sa amin yan? Anak ng, hindi ninyo alam, yan. That is the reason why you have to enforce the law. Yung barangay captain sa iyong lugar mo, you are the person in authority. Kaya nga makipag-away sa inyo, kung in addition sa nasugatan kayo, it could be a direct assault. May isang kaso pa nakapatong na paglaban mo sa otoridad ng gobyerno. That's the reason why. Ngayon, I am satisfied with the implementation of the law. Ako kasi ang itaas. So ako ang magsabi. But, you know, the guidance and everything, direction, should be followed by the persons in authority, tayo. Tapos, down sa inyo, sa bababa. Yan ang ibig sabihin ng batas dito. So, thank you, I said, Secretary Anyo. Now, let us go to now to this issue of palakihin na natin yung ulo ng mga kalaban, but then we have to somehow, whether we like it or not, we have to explain to the people why ganito ang sinasabi nila at bakit mali. And I would like to call on Secretary of the Foreign Affairs, Secretary Roxin, to do the preliminary explanation or talk.
Mr. President, colleagues, the issue here, you can keep talking about the arbitral award. And we all know how brilliantly that arbitral award was won when our German lawyer took away all aspects of sovereignty in the issue. Hindi yung they will decide, the arbitration will decide who is the sovereign over this or that area. Right, Harry? Okay. What the German did is he said, let's just ask them to rule what happens with these features. They show themselves at high, they're still apparent, you can see them at high tide, or you see them only at low tide, and what does it generate? What kind of territorial, what kind of sea it generates? That's it. Now, the question really is, who lost possession of that reef, Scarborough? I was a little hard on I have been very hard on the Americans, blaming them, because when there was a confrontation between a Philippine ship, Del, please correct me, at any point, and the Chinese ship, and now it's become 30 ships, according to the Rosario, so I'm not sure how many ships there are, no? But when they confronted themselves, the interference, the participation of the United States was to try to stop people from attacking each other. Well, they think it's their job. So they said, stand down. So they stood down. And then the United States told both sides, not taking sides, said, withdraw. Now, if you believe, your government at that time believes that that is yours, why will you withdraw? These are only good officers of the United States. It is a suggestion. I think you should both withdraw. So what you should have done, I don't want to say that I know better after the fact. But the truth is, if I have UNCLOS on my side saying we are within the exclusive economic zone, and the Chinese ship is not, from my point of view, then I'll just look at the other side and say, go. And you go, I'll go. And you go first. Instead, our side withdrew. So what happens to our claim that this is ours? Just give it up. Now, later on they went to court. And then they decided one thing. Harry, tell me if I'm wrong. That the historical claims of China must yield to UNCLOS because it's the latest law on it. Never mind your history, whatever you think. History does not confer rights. Tradition does not confer rights once a law comes into play. So, that's all. I mean, why did we yield possession? And that's, I think, the first thing you must ask. Who gave the order to withdraw that ship? Because it is from there that we start having the problems that are actually a separate issue from the arbitral award. We won it. But actually, from the time when we won that, I immediately announced to the United Nations, again, please correct me. I said, this is not just us. By the way, the rest of the world didn't care. This is not just us. This is applicable to Norway. This is applicable to any other country because it was not a determination of Philippine or Chinese sovereignty. It was a description of features in the maritime areas. That was it. Now, who moved aside from that issue and then who yielded possession in the first place? I think you decide. I won't say. I'll just decide who withdrew. Again, the Americans could not force us. They couldn't force the Chinese. They did not want to force anybody. They just said, this is my suggestion so you guys don't kill each other. Stand down, withdraw. You were the first to withdraw. But then, under UNCLOS, which is already old, we had first right to be there. But we pulled out. Now, who needs to explain then? I think before you start any debate about the merits of the obligations generated by the arbitral award, you must first settle the issue. Who in a game of chicken stopped this car on the edge of the abyss? First. That's all, Mr. President.
Actually, sir, thank you. That was what was in my mind when I challenged Carpio to a debate. Well, ang problema lang kasi dito is nakalimutan ko na si Carpio ang hindi ang presidente, ako. So, policy statement kung anong itanong niya, masasabi ko, and I might bind future actions of government pagdating dito sa West Philippine Sea. Pero doon ako sa kahon. It's not because I'm afraid of debates. Ilang debate na dinaanan ko nung eleksyon. Araw-araw halos. Ganito yan. Hindi ako lalabas, just like the position of the Secretary of Foreign Affairs. I would insist on the one issue before we go to the other side issues. Sino ang nagbigay ng possession sa China sa West Philippine Sea? Sila. Kaya kung hindi sila umalis, di walang problema. Tayo ang umalis because yung sabi ni Secretary Locsin about the good officers, ang ibig sabihin ng magandang loob lang, offer to mediate na para hindi magkaupakan. That was the America was there for. But ang aking ngayon is, my sentiment is, bakit hindi nila in-enforce? He could have said, look, you allowed us to mediate. Then, the result of that mediation must be followed. Ipapasubo mo ako. But America did nothing. Apparently, I don't know. Maybe afraid of China would turn its direction towards them. So, para tayo umalis talaga. At hindi na tayo nakabalik. Ang ginasabi ko na sa kanilang possession, it's not really about ownership. It's not about sovereignty. Kung sino andyan nakahawak, ano has been building ngayon sa newspaper, they are building a military garrison. Nasabihin mo nila na hindi sa no possession. How stupid can you get? Hindi sa possession, pero ginagawa niya yung propiedad parang kanya. As simple as that. Ang debate ko sa iyo dito lang sa dalawa. Hindi ako takot sa iyo. Ang problema, hindi ko nga alam na hindi ka presidente. That's about it. Secretary Rodrigo.
There was one thing, and again, please inform me, Secretary Dan. I've always said that even before when this was happening, I was a publisher. When this was happening, two things I must understand. You know that the media and nobody paid attention to this issue. I give credit to Minor. They were the first ones to do it. Every president, it was only the armed forces of the Philippines after independence. For some reason, nobody understands, including the great writer Hayton, started picking up features before UNCLOS. I think the armed forces had foresight. But whatever it does, they were all alone, so they did it. But the question is this. When they said in good officers, as the president used, I didn't even know the term, good officers to mediate.